two, one. What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. Um, it goes without saying, you see what's on the monitor behind me. This is not going to be a positive live. This is not going to be something to jump up and down and cheer about. But nevertheless, I do like to hear from you fine folks and get your opinion whenever applicable. And this one here, it's mainly because I'm kind of distressed from, I'm kind of saddened at the state of affairs I've seen in this country and even on social media as of late. I'm trying to make sure everything is going here. Give me a minute. I think the audio or some shit. Okay. Why the hell is it saying that? Okay, there we go. All right. So some of you folks may know you can find me oftentimes in other live streams and things like that, talking to folks. I like to go into predominantly conservative. I like to go into conservative platforms. So sometimes you find me in those. And one of the things I'm starting to notice all over social media, and this is not just in relations to conservatives, this is in relations to liberals, independents, and, just politically minded folks alike. I'm starting to notice this, that a lot of this is about us tearing down each other. You're starting to see lives where you have nothing but people saying negative shit about white folks. And you got nothing but lives where people are trashing blacks, trashing Hispanics. I'm just wondering, it's a sad state of affairs is what I'm trying to say, is that have we reached a point where we are now so divided that the damage may be irreversible? Do you see any hope at all for us coming together in terms of being a more unified country? Because all I'm seeing, and you guys know I enjoy talking to folks from all sides of the aisle, and I'll give it to you straight. It's hard as hell to run a program nowadays where you're trying to entertain comments and opinions from all sides of the aisle. We are so fucking divided. It's hard to even maintain this. And based on what I see when I go online, I'm one of the few folks that's even trying it. A lot of lives, a lot of social media platforms, division is the narrative. Are you tired of seeing blacks? Do you have black fatigue? Are whites just too racist? It's literally the actual narrative of the program is division. So what I'm trying to ask is there any way we can ever be divided, be better yet, united? Is there any way we can ever be united again? Are we so far down the divisive path, the divided, the avenue of division that we cannot recover from this? Unless there's, let's say, a boiling point where, boom, something happens and you end up with a do-over or a restart of sorts. Are we reaching that plateau? Now, listen, at the end of the day, everyone is capable of being judged. Yours truly, I'm no exclusion to this. And I'll give you an example. In the comments, someone even told me, PYC says, you're a divider. Talking about me. And perhaps there is some validity to that because I do ask topics and I do pose questions that could also be, it can lead to folks taking sides. I get it. But I don't come on here and start talking about, are whites under attack? Are blacks being victimized? Do blacks deserve reparation? This is what I'm seeing all over social media, where the actual narrative of the program is division. It literally is that is literally what the subject is about, is to cause division. Generally here we talk about the topic of the day. Now, I'm not going to take away from the notion that I may be divisive because unfortunately we have President Trump, and a lot of times just simply covering him, you're going to get division because of the things that he says and does. There's no way to cover Trump without people being divided because he himself is divided. Let's take an example. Let's go with any Black Lives Matter event. Like say for instance, when the one in Kenosha happened a few years ago with Kyle Rittenhouse. Well, Trump invited Kyle Rittenhouse to the White House, and he said nothing but negative stuff about Black Lives Matter. How do you cover that without division coming up? Because the actual subject matter, being President Trump, he is divisive in himself. He is divisive. There's no way to cover Trump without division because he is literally a divisive character. I mean, he's taken sides on most issues. And I've stated before myself many times that I do believe if we ever get to a point of having civil unrest or even, God forbid, some kind of crazy ass race war or a point where we get so divided within each other, we take sides. I don't think Trump would promote unity. I think he would take one of those sides. I don't think he would promote unity. I think he would pick the side that he closest, he more so identifies with, whatever that may be. He would pick the side he identifies with and he would side with that side. So you're not going to get it from that. So how do we unite each other? How do we unite within each other? Or as I'm asking, are we so far gone, there is simply no hope until we reach a boiling point? So I do want to talk about that because I'm just shocked at how much shit I see all over social media. I go into a lot of people's pages and it's like nothing but that type of stuff. It is nothing. I mean, it's even to the point where you got a lot of blacks doing shows about how bad blacks are, black fatigue and all of that. And then, of course, there are plenty of blacks that are attacking whites, and there's whites attacking blacks. And, of course, the Hispanics are also getting their share of it as well. So, are we too far gone? James, appreciate the hat mustache. James, cool. Yeah! Thank you for the support there. So, we want to talk about that. And I see in the comments, the goal is to keep us divided, says Sean the Grateful. But whose goal is that? Is that the goal of our leadership? The goal is to keep us divided. Sean in the comments says. But who has that for a goal? Now, I ask topics, like I said, I definitely want to be able to discuss what's going on from an uncensored standpoint. I enjoy talking to MAGA. Liberals are welcome on my program as well. But I don't seek to divide. I seek to spark conversation. I'm fine with a good debate, but I'm not trying to promote us to hate each other. That's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm concerned with, is that we're starting to hate each other. So we're going to talk about that. But in addition to that topic, and I'm just that one right there really really saddens me because there's no denying that it's happening. But in addition to that topic, I do want to ask you folks also, because Trump just had a big victory today. Trump had a big victory today. Real quick before we get to that, Supercell Fusion says, good evening, Super Tim. Wow. You are doing a great job with your shows, but I do have a bone to pick with you. When you did your live feed from your car, I'd be curious to know what did I do? No, when I'm in the vehicle, I don't have the screen and the computer in front of me, so a lot of things I say, I'm not able to give receipts as much, and if you're gonna catch me making errors or fucking up, that would be the place to do it, because I can't do any research for that. So let me know what the bone is. What did I get wrong? Let me know. I'll be curious to see. And and like I said, if you got me, you got me. I don't mind conceding points. I'm not a know-it-all. So let me know. Looking in the comments, the closest thing to a Palestine homeland would be Jordan, and they don't want them coming back. The problem is they shouldn't kick the Palestinians away from where they're at. If you want to thwart Hamas, taking Gaza is not going to do that. Taking Gaza does not get rid of Hamas. It just relocates them. And probably creates significantly more in terms of membership. Because obviously the Israelis have wrongfully killed a lot of people. We can talk about October 7th and 1,000 or so Israelis that were slaughtered on October 7th, but the Israelis I think they're getting close to about 100,000 at this point. There's no damn way in hell there was 100,000 Hamas. Nowhere. If it was that many of them, they would have caused a lot more damage on October 7th. There's nowhere near 100,000 of them. So there is a lot of innocent folks being slaughtered in Gaza. So if you take over Gaza and it becomes property of Israel, or God forbid Trump, who stated he wants to take it over, all you're doing when you move those people, you're moving a lot of pissed off people. Because now you don't, in addition to slaughtering a bunch of people, you don't took their whole fucking culture from them. You're creating a lot of Hamas in that. You're creating a lot of Hamas in that. And I would add that you're probably creating them worldwide. I mean, you got people in this country they're claiming now are being radicalized because of how bad they're being treated. But also, once you move them to another country, they're going to take their anger with them to that country. So if they go to Jordan, or if they go to Egypt, or if they go to, one of the other neighboring countries, they're going to be angry in that country. They're going to find some allies in that country because the enemy is either Jewish or American. It's pretty easy to find people that don't like them in neighboring countries. So they're going to radicalize some of the people that before you know, it won't be long. If you send a lot of Palestinians to Egypt, you send a bunch of them to Jordan, it won't be long before Israel is threatening to attack Egypt or Jordan. It will not be long before they're talking about going after one of those countries. Because you're not getting rid of that element, you're just moving it. But anyway, looking in the comments, hey bro, you're burnt or have tainted. Okay, I don't, look, you're commenting on the melanin in my skin, is that what you're trying to do? I'm assuming you're not being racist. I don't know why you would look at the screen and tell the host you think he's too dark. I suppose that's not racist at all. And you probably have a lot of very dark African-American friends that you know and love. I assume that's what you're trying to tell me, right? Looking in the comments though, Supercell Fusion says, MAGA reacts ain't shit. Says, that's the bone I got to pick with you. You should have reached into the back of your car and got out Hannibal Lecter and went to town on him. Remember, no homo. All right. MAGA reacts is one, between MAGA reacts on the right and gangsta grandma on the left, I can't win. I cannot win shit for losing. Between them two, I get trashed every day. But looking in the comments, he is on the crazy train, says Black Power. Yeah, perhaps. And Happy Liberal, love the name. What up to you as well. So we're talking about, we weren't really here to talk about the Gaza thing, but I do want to talk about a victory that Trump had today. MAGA's going to like this. MAGA's going to like this, but they may be the only ones, but MAGA's going to like this one.
Immigrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. CNN Chief Supreme Court Analyst Joan Biskupic joins us now. What more do we know about this, Joan?
Good to see you, Pamela and Wolf. This is the second time in this month that the Supreme Court has intervened in a case at an early stage and said that the Trump administration can start rolling back deportation protections for certain groups of migrants. As you said, this one involves Cuban, Haitian, Venezuelan, and Nicaraguan migrants who are here, nearly 500,000 people who had been granted a type of humanitarian parole during the Biden administration. But the humanitarian protections here go all the way back to the 1950s. But for this group of migrants, that has now been lifted. And the merits of the case will continue in lower courts, Pamela. But for now, it really gives the green light for the Trump administration to begin deporting people. And earlier this month, there were...
Now I want to talk about this for a minute. Now, I guess you want to, the banner at the bottom of this is a CNN news thing here, but I'm sure this was covered on Fox because this is a win for Trump. I just grabbed the first one I could find. This one is on CNN. Supreme Court lets Trump end deportation protection for 500,000 immigrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. Now, there's a few issues to talk about in this. First of all, one of the things that the liberals might find comical is Trump did very well among American naturalized citizens that were of Venezuelan and Cuban heritage. So they literally supported Trump, and then he removed protections for their relatives, so to speak. Now, keep in mind, this removing protections that Trump is doing here does not coincide with statements like this.
and trouble.
When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're not sending you. They're not sending you. They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people.
Now let's go.
Now that quote. Now this is Trump claiming that these are bad people coming into the country. These folks that have protections don't qualify for that. And I apologize for my bad HDMI cord that just continues to make the monitor go off. I have got to replace this damn thing. But these are not bad hombres as Trump was often known to say. These are people that were given protections, given work rights, and now they're going to be kicked out.
All of the drug lords, all of the bad ones. We have some bad people in this country that have to go out. We're going to get them out. We're going to secure the border. And once the border is secured, at a later date, we'll make a determination as to the rest.
Right. You're going to get the bad people out. And once the border is secured, then you're going to go for the people that aren't bad at all. That's what's happening. That is what's happening now. They're going for, look, we've heard enough about MS-13 and Trinidad Agua. Now we're on, moms that are dealing with children with cancer and shit, and even folks that are asylum seekers or people that are here working every day, hardworking people that are getting kicked out because the protections. What is it called again here? The deportation protection. When they talk about Cubans, Haitians, Nicaragua, and Venezuelans. Remember they're eating cats and dogs in Springfield? It's them people. They're going to be part of this group. Them folks are not in that town committing a bunch of crimes. They're there working. They're there going. Now that town is going to feel the effects of that because they were invited to that town because they had jobs that needed to be filled. That town is going to feel the effects of it, and it's probably not going to be in a positive way. But none of this stuff is about getting rid of violent offenders. This is just don't want in the country at this point. That's all. I mean, you're getting rid of deportation protection, and the reason they had protection is because they are coming from violent locations. Like, for instance, Haiti is under civil war right now. So I don't know. What are you going to do? Push these people off the plane when you can literally hear gunfire in the distance and see burning cars and tires and shit down the runway? I mean, when you just kick them off the plane and say, go fend for you. I mean, it's going to be kind of cruel. I don't know how you can possibly send people back to Haiti and expect that they'll be okay. If they literally are in the middle of a civil war. Special Supercell Fusion says, remember, Tim, I want the best for you. Thank you. And I appreciate what you're doing. I want to see you on the Tonight Show. You are that great. 10,000 points. Wow. You're touching me in my very own. Oh, the Tonight Show. Oh, which one is he? Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel? Which one is the? Because I'm used to I go back, so I'm used to the David Letterman on CBS versus Jay Leno, or even Johnny Carson if you really want to go back farther. So who does host the Tonight Show at this point? Because it doesn't. I'm sure the ratings are nowhere near as good as they were in the Jay Leno and certainly not in the what is the guy? I just said his name. The one with the guy that was Johnny Carson, because there wasn't as many TV channels and shit on. Now you watch, you can go watch Conan O'Brien, or there's a host of shows on cable. All of that didn't exist. You only had 4 or 5 channels to watch. So Johnny Carson was huge back then. But Tonight Show, that would be nice. I wouldn't mind. Thank you for the accolade there. Are they going to deport this wife and mother-in-law? Look, in my opinion, if you can't, particularly if you're brown or black, now maybe even white, but I'm gonna put brown or black on a hierarchy and say this. And I said this before Trump got elected. I was saying this during the election of 2024. If you do not have citizenship by the time Trump becomes president, you are not safe. I mean, I got old clips you can find of me on YouTube saying that. If you do not have your case at a conclusion, once Trump becomes president, you are not safe. I was saying that then. Ain't nothing to do with a damn criminal history, nothing to do with a criminal record, nothing to do with coming here illegally or legally. If you have not officially been stamped as a resident on your passport, by the time Trump comes in this country, you are not safe. And that was proven so, because all of the folks who were seeking asylum, you see these folks here who have deportation protection. None of these folks have criminal. This is not criminal history kind of people. They're just individuals that are still working on their cases. If you do not have citizenship by the time Trump becomes president, you are not safe. And it's turned out to be incredibly accurate. And look, there's a lot of people that like what he's doing. I personally do not know why. I'd like to hear from some folks on the show. We'll go to the box and start talking to some folks. I'd like to hear why so many folks are happy that people who have no criminal history at all, that may have literally come from a war zone, why people are happy that we're sending them back, like the Afghanistan citizens that helped our soldiers and troops in World War II, in the war in Afghanistan. Why are so many people happy to see them go back, knowing the Taliban may gobble them up like Pac-Man? Why are so many people happy about that? And there are plenty of folks that are saying, good, send them back. Jimmy Fallon, Supercell Fusion. Okay, fair enough. So I'm gonna go straight to the box and ask that question. We're talking about the level of division as well. I don't get it, but somebody help me out. D Blue, good evening, welcome to the program. Now, why do you think there are so many folks, particularly on the right, that are happy that even non-violent immigrants that had legal, they were on a legal pathway to being able to stay? Why are they so happy that they're getting kicked out?
At this point, I think it boils down to
I can't hear you. You're really muffled. Yeah, I don't know if you got a bad mic or something, Blue, but I'm not hearing anything. It's just noise. Yeah, you got some problems. I'm unfortunately going to drop you because it's just like you're moving around. I don't know if you got a bad connection or something. Try it again, D Blue. I'll move on for a minute though. Tribal nations in South Dakota are in the international state of emergency. Based on what has caused that, Ashton Knight? What has caused that to happen? Going back to the box, why are so many folks happy to see what normally would be legal immigrants getting deported? Why are people happy about this? Sherbert, good evening.
How's it going, Tim?
Not bad at all, not bad at all. We'll try to see if I can get through without the middle finger tonight. So why do you think so many people are happy to see individuals who do not have a criminal history? They're not a gangbanger. You're talking about people that were seeking asylum from war-torn countries. Why are so many people happy to see them getting kicked out?
I'm going to go with racism on this one, Tim. I mean, I just really don't understand. It doesn't make any sense to me. We need people, if they want to do all this manufacturing they say they want to do. It's not really hurting anything. Yeah, we spend more money on the government because there's more people here, but that's how it works with the rising population. It's just hatred, and I don't really understand.
Well,
what do you think, Tim?
Huh?
What do you think about it? Why are people so pissy?
I mean, listen, there are some people like the Bin Laden types that just like to see the world burn. Some people just take pleasure in seeing misery from other people. I mean, it could be some of that.
You mean like MAGA Reacts?
I don't know if MAGA Reacts feels this way. I'd have to talk to him. I don't know if he's taking pleasure in it or not.
I'm sure he would say he's not. It's just, that guy is so easy to hate on just because he's always got the worst takes ever. Like, Jeremy's pretty bad, DJ Julio is really bad, but for some reason, MAGA Reacts pisses me off more than any of your other colleagues.
Well, he supports Trump, and he just has a different opinion than you. I don't get, why is he pissed? You want to talk to him?
Yeah, sure. If you want to bring him up.
Okay.
It's more of the fact that it's never the empathetical point. It's always the angry one.
Well,
let's do a multiple.
Okay. I don't normally do multiples, but keep it civilized as always. You two spar like crazy. MAGA Reacts, meet Sherbert.
What's up, Reacts?
my name up, but I don't think I've even mentioned some of the shit you're talking about.
Nah, probably not on this one. It's a general feeling of how I see you come across here on the daily.
You're making assumption, which just makes an ass out of you.
I guess so, but I've heard you talk for probably about 10 hours straight over the last couple months. So it's not like I'm just pulling everything out of my ass. This is observations of what you've said and what you believe.
Okay, so tell me how I'm being mean to foreigners or whatever. Me being an immigrant myself, and
Do you, wait, let me interject it. Let me interrupt and ask you this, Mangarex. Do you support Trump's widespread deportation policies?
not so much the deportation, more the border security of like not letting people in without going through an airport or a port of entry.
So what about this here where his deportation protection, he's removing the Deportation Protection Act from Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans that already live in the country. Many have been here for years without a criminal history. Do you support that?
No, I'm not a big fan of it. I'm only for deporting people from like the last 4 years, the excess amount we got under Biden.
Okay.
But I'm okay with our normal level of immigration. Because we had an influx under Biden, we're gonna let him slide with deporting a little bit too. He hasn't even deported more than Biden or Obama.
Yeah, because the only reason he hasn't done it is because they've been fighting him in court. It ain't like he ain't been trying.
Even if they didn't fight him, he's shown no propensity to deport people like that. He's always been more about security and not letting them in. Deporting.
But Joe Biden deported more immigrants than anyone, and yet there was no legal cases about this because they weren't doing it illegally and hatefully. I'm confused why everyone is
importing so many. Why even?
They wasn't importing anything. The pandemic ended, and then they left their countries that were doing worse. It's all about hatred. Why don't you want people to live a better life like you did?
Because we don't have the infrastructure for it yet.
The hell we don't. We have the infrastructure. We are goddamn America. We put people on the moon. You're saying we can't feed some people?
These things.
We throw away more food than we need to feed the entire country every single day.
Yeah, what if
Housing. Housing has skyrocketed under Biden.
And you think Trump, the landlord,
for our own people?
You think the landlord in Trump is going to lower the rates?
What do you mean? No, but I think an influx of people is going to increase rent for everybody. You have to build the housing first, and then you invite them over.
That depends on Mangarex
as is, and you're like having the door wide open. Does that make sense to you?
It depends on where you're sending them. Yeah, if you flood Manhattan with a bunch of immigrants, but if in the middle of Kansas or wide open Wyoming, there's nobody living there anyway.
Okay, so if those places need people, let them invite the people themselves and let them in.
But they're kicking all the people out. They're kicking the Haitians out that were building those jobs in Springfield.
Well, a lot of people in that area are upset, so what do you want me to say?
Over racism, man. That doesn't change the fact that we're losing our economic advantage by kicking out these people. They were doing American jobs. The American manufacturing was actually happening. And for some reason, they just go, no, we don't like them.
I doubt they just said they don't like them. If you had that many people just show up in your home without even like a warning or anything, overnight, half the city becomes Haitian, and they have no idea about our country or our driving laws or street laws.
Yeah, that's racism
or anything.
Do you see?
The same way you learn.
Racist about saying someone foreign is foreign.
The same way that you learned they can immigrate. Our best thing we do is turn people into Americans by making them live the culture.
But they're not living the culture. They're literally all around. They're surrounded by nothing but Haitians. Living the culture. I came in. I was surrounded by Americans and I absorbed the culture. You don't absorb the culture by bringing in 20,000 and giving them a chunk of city.
We are the melting pot. Reacts. This is why we have Chinatowns. This is why we have the Irish people in New York. We have We've done this forever. We don't like the new people that come in, and then they learn how to create their own space.
Let me ask this. See Stevie D in the comments. He said, Sherbert, your default is racism. The card is overplayed. Margaret asks, do you see it that way?
Of course, yes. Not everything is racist. I mean, how do you go from letting in barely 800,000 to over 2 million a year? And that's what we think the numbers are. There's no actual, like, definitive numbers because no one was counting. They were just crossing the border wherever they like.
That's a fair point. You don't know what the numbers are because nobody knows. This 20 million number is all horseshit.
Yeah, so is the 10 million. But we know it's a lot. We know it's a ton.
Is there anybody?
You know, it's too much for Chicago. It's too much for everywhere they were sent.
Well, let's be clear, Magga. The reason it's too much for Chicago and some of these areas is because Texas Governor Greg Abbott and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis deliberately tried to flood Chicago and New York with immigrants. They deliberately sent them all to one city, busload after busload, to make a point.
No, but even Biden was shipping them out there.
He wasn't shipping them. He was not shipping them all to one city. Fact is, if those immigrants that came in this country had have been allowed to migrate and move around organically, they would not all have went to Chicago. That was done deliberately by Governor Greg Abbott of Texas.
Yeah, what's wrong with that? Why does he have to take in all the burden?
No,
and it's not like they were locked to those cities.
That ain't what I'm saying.
New York could have kept them moving somewhere else.
No, that ain't what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if Texas Governor Greg Abbott has your point of why do we have to take them all in, then send some of them to sanctuary cities in Colorado or Milwaukee. Why send them all to one town? You're trying to make a point.
Because that's where the media is at. That's where Fox News and
right.
all the other TV channels are at.
Exactly. So in other words, you weren't. So in other words, you're trying to make a point. You're trying to get the media to see it.
You're making it political. You're making it political instead of humanitarian.
Right.
We should treat all these people with respect. And lately, all I'm ever seeing is, nah, they're evil and they don't believe the way.
I never said they're evil. I said I'm not saying you.
I'm not saying you. I'm saying the general culture that we're seeing online. One of the main points that Tim was bringing up is that all of these lives usually are one-sided and very hateful.
Yeah.
I mean, you're maybe translating into that, but all I said is they can't assimilate because there's too many of them coming together, and they're not exposed to Americans. They're all together in one place. Like, there's just too many of them. That's all I said, and most of the people's criticism has to do with the quantity that came in, that influx under Biden. Without the influx, this wouldn't even be a question.
I don't know how you're saying there's too many of them when there's so much of America you can go to where there's no major illegal immigrants. I mean, you think there's a bunch of illegal immigrants in Idaho or, I mean, there's so many places you can go where you're not dealing with these people at all. So what are you saying there's too many of them?
I'm saying you have to build homes, you have to do things for that influx. We weren't ready for that large of an increase at one time. You got to build them homes. You got to give them some place to live. You got to give them jobs. You have to give them, a country has to be ready to take in that many people.
We are America reacts. We can do that. We can build mobile homes and fill entire states of Wyoming.
But we can't because the rent has gone up because there's not enough homes.
There's no rent if you build it on public land, not even public land, but we can build affordable housing. That's not the problem. We are goddamn America. What are you talking about?
Affordable housing for their homeless for the last 10 years.
And we failed at that. That doesn't mean we can't do it.
I know we can do it, but we're not set up for it. Our bureaucracy is so bad that we can't build simple we can't build simple affordable housing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I see.
We fix that, and then you can let in as many people as you want.
Yeah, and I see in the comments, Rowdy says, first let's get our vets some homes. Have you heard anybody saying anything about that? Now that Trump is in office, we're not sending any money overseas. You know, we've stopped sending money to the Ukraine. We've gotten rid of USAID. We're getting the immigrants out. Have you heard Trump talking about helping out the average American at all? Because that was the whole argument, is we need to take care of America first and stop taking care of all these other people. Now that Elon Musk has claimed to have found billions of dollars of waste, fraud, and abuse, he don't left. He's not even working for the government anymore. Did he say anything at all about taking care of actual Americans?
Yeah, that's all he talks about. The whole point of this.
Give me some examples. Give me some examples.
The whole point of this is to reduce taxes for Americans, to reduce our debt, to reduce taxes. Keep more of our money so we can spend it on us.
No, reacts. How many people do you know that make over $300,000 a year? Because those are the only people that are going to have their taxes lowered. What are you talking
That's
about?
not true. Everybody's going to have their taxes lowered. If this tax bill doesn't go through.
Bullshit.
Let me just say it. Let me say it this way.
People who've done the math, they're saying everybody's going to at least pay $700 more in taxes if this tax bill doesn't get renewed. The argument isn't that the poor
it's
isn't
700 if it gets renewed. If this happens, then the taxes go up. You're wrong on that.
Whatever the numbers are, the argument isn't that the poor aren't getting a tax cut. They're just saying their tax cut is not as big as the tax cut for the rich.
You're wrong. You're 100% wrong. It's going up for everyday Americans that don't make $100,000 a year or more.
It's going to go up for everybody if this bill doesn't go through. It's just how it goes. I mean, the rich are going to take more of a cut because they pay more taxes. That's how it works.
I'd be real surprised to see the rich is going to take more of a cut under Trump. Really? You believe that?
Reacts. I know you don't like them. You won't watch the Midas Touch, but they are a very good source because they're lawyers and they understand the system. I know for a fact they have videos going over the proposed tax bill that just got passed by the House. We have the numbers. We have lawyers and people that study economics to look at this.
I mean, I watch I watch plenty of left news. In fact, I find myself more watching left stuff than the right.
The Midas Touch is a very good source of information that they will break down everything down to what the bill actually says versus what the commentators are saying.
Okay.
All right, send me a link. I'll see what they say. I have never heard of them before.
All right, gentlemen. I do gotta. All right, fair enough. I do gotta move it on.
That's the problem with modern day YouTube and TikTok and all that. Like, before anything goes viral, we would all see it. Now they have these artificial bubbles where the number one podcast for you is not the same for me. And as much as I want to see all this shit, it just doesn't pop up on my feed anymore, and it drives me nuts.
As Steve Bennett says, it's flooding the zone. There's so much shit out there that, I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I get a lot of views telling me about stuff that I miss because there's just so much going around, certainly under Trump. But I got to move it on, gentlemen.
Well, they don't show it to us anymore. Our feeds are made to show you, like, your top 3 or 10 things at the most. Nothing else pops up.
No. Your feed is your feed because that's how you interact with it. That has nothing to do with the information that's not out there anymore.
I kind of agree with both of you to a degree because I used to get a whole lot of women with big titties and I don't get none of that no more. So they took that out. I gotta go. Go ahead.
Channels and I get videos from like 2 or 3 at the most.
Tim, right. I appreciate you. You're doing awesome work.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure talking to both of you guys.
Back reacts. That's how you close. I like that. Thank you. All right.
Always close it like that.
Yeah, whatever. All right, moving on with the program. And thank you folks that are tuning in, by the way. Tap the screen. I haven't asked that. Get the likes on up to 30,000. Like I said, that's what I'm seeing is just a whole lot of division. I want us to figure out some way, shape, fashion, or form to, look, we're never going to agree on every damn thing. I get that. But a little bit better than where we are now. It's distressing because people are genuinely starting to hate their neighbors. People are genuine. I mean, some folks are even, I really don't like to say it this way, but some people are getting prepared. I mean, people going out and making purchases of pew-pews. I mean, some people are really getting prepared to really bestow some hate on their neighbors. And I'm sure some of you folks have heard it. I'm sure some of you folks hear this kind of stuff all the damn time. So the main question is it something that is reversible? And can it happen under Trump? Because he's going to be around for 3.5 more years. He is our guy. Whether you like him or not, he is the guy that's going to be leading this country for 3.5 years to come. Can we at least, if we can't improve the situation, can we at least stabilize it? Can we at least stabilize it so we don't reach a fucking boiling point and people do start losing their lives? So looking in the comments though, Delaware permits are up. Yeah, I mean people, well, some states you don't even have to have a permit no more at all. And I think that's the goal of the Trump admin, is to probably come up with some kind of federal way of making it so that the minute you turn 18, you can go get what you need. There won't be any requirement for permits or anything. Because a lot of folks, I'm talking about my beloved, that shall not be infringed upon folks. A lot of folks believe there shouldn't be anything to stop you. The minute you turn 18, hell, some folks probably would knock that down to 16. I mean, some folks really believe you should be able to get what you want, when you want, without any restriction at all. Don't need a permit in Mississippi, says Black Magic. Stevie D, appreciate it. There you go. There's my fellow 2A guy right there. So some folks do believe that. I'm torn on it. I am a CCW type guy, but just the statistical probability is what concerns me, if I can get that phrase out. No matter what it is, I don't care if it's cars, I don't care, whatever the case may be. If you put enough of something into a crowd of people, there are going to be people in that crowd that do not have the wherewithal, the mentality to responsibly possess whatever just like with cars. There are some people, I'm sure you guys know, there are some people who have no damn business being behind the wheel of a car. Big dog, yeah, thank you for the hat mustaches, appreciate it. And the same thing with firearms. How many times do you see on YouTube or some of these other platforms people pulling out a pew-pew and taking somebody's life over just the silliest shit? Now, I know a lot of you folks talk about having black fatigue because you see a lot of black folks doing dumb shit with firearms. But the road rage incidents, I'm watching a video on active self-protection today where an off-duty chief of police saw a motorcyclist do something crazy on the road. I guess he went on the sidewalk or was speeding or something on his way to work. And when the motorcyclist, now these people are all white, the chief of police and the motorcyclist, these are all white folks. The motorcyclist pull up to his job and the chief of police jumps out of his SUV aiming a gun at him. And that's a chief of police doing that. There's no threat to his life. He just didn't like the fact that the motorcyclist was irresponsible on the roadway. There are some people who should not have a firearm. They just shouldn't. So that's where I stand on it. Like I said, I do favor having a right to defend yourself, but you just can't ignore, in a population where everybody's on Xanax and Lexapro and depressants and anxiety, you just can't hand everybody a fucking gun. There's a lot of people out of their rabbit ass mind. And if you just hand these things out like candy, you're gonna have supermarkets and churches and schools occasionally getting blasted up because the population is not. And then of course we're talking right now about wealth divide. You heard MAGA reacts talking about tax cuts and shit like that because the poor is getting poorer while the rich is getting richer. That's also a recipe for disaster because the poor, no matter how poor they get, they still got pew-pews. And poverty is one of the main sources of fuel for crime and anger. So it's just one of those cases where if you just say shall not be infringed, give everybody, you're giving them folks weapons and bad shit will happen. So looking at the comments, this is some of the people in power. Yeah, this is what some of the people want. Yeah, no shit, they want it. Well, the thing about it is the National Rifle Association, the NRA, is making a killing, making sure everybody has pew-pews. So they're doing it for personal gain. Now, they do care about your right to own and bear arms, but they are making a killing financially off of this shit. So safety be damned. They're doing better if everybody get pew pews. They're promoting it for for personal gain in addition to just for your right to bear arms. So you're not the NRA. I don't care what happens. The NRA is going to keep promoting that you should be able to own a pew pew because it benefits them. So they're doing it for personal gain too. Let's take care of the American homeless people first and our veterans, and then let's build the infrastructure around that. Supercell fusion is not going to happen because, as my last two guests talked about, there is an element of hate involved in it. There is an element of hate involved in it. So even if you take care of homeless and you take care of veterans, and then you start trying to look out for some immigrants, you're going to have working Americans that are going to say, well, they're getting more than I got. Well, I had to work hard to get mine and nobody helped me. So, I mean, no matter what you do, whenever you get around to trying to help out immigrants, people are going to have complaints about it. I mean, just for some people, under no circumstance should they receive help, should they receive entry. Under no circumstance. So you're gonna have to deal with those people no matter what. But as I pointed out, now that Trump has claimed to have found billions of dollars in waste, fraud, and abuse and things like that, have you heard him talking about helping out veterans or homeless at home? In fact, some of the programs that would help out the veterans, they've cut. They've fired people that work over that stuff. So in my personal analysis, it's probably gonna get worse. It's actually probably gonna get worse for those groups than it was under Biden, because now the few organizations that would help them are backlogged because they have less employees, so it's probably gonna get worse. Superset Fusion says MAGA reacts say shit, God, just fluffing all crap. Oh my God. Let me go back to the bots. But yeah, I don't foresee things getting better for these groups of people because I haven't heard Trump talk at all about helping the everyday average American. Now, I will say this, and hang on a second on the answer. Before, all we get, just like what you heard MAGA React say, and many say, tax cuts is Trump's plan to help her. Tax cuts don't really benefit the poor. They don't make enough money where a tax cut is going to really help them out that much. Because a lot of them get earned income credit and they're barely paying taxes anyway. So telling somebody that's making $20 an hour how a beautiful tax cut is going to help, that ain't going to help them out much. Now, the guy making, 6-7 figures, yeah, tax cut may do something for him. But the average struggling working American working from check to check, that tax cut ain't going to make a big difference for him. The Handsome, good evening.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good. Hey.
It's always a pleasure to come on to the show. So one thing I wanted to talk about is you talked about restricting guns, and I mean I'm 100% for defending for your right to be able to defend. But what do you feel? How do you feel about instead of restricting? In order to be able to have a firearm, you got to go through a process where we find out if you have a mental illness or not. And those who do, they are those are the people restricted. Because to me, the reason why I say that is because if you have these pew-pews, the problem is not people. I'm sorry, the problem is not firearms, it's people.
Well, you're absolutely right. The problem ain't the gun, the problem is the person, but the gun makes that bad person infinitely more dangerous. So yeah, the problem that a mentally ill person would be significantly less harmful without the pew pew than they are with the pew pew.
So I think what we need to do, just personally, is I feel like we need to solve this mental health problem. We need to at least make it a priority. And if we can make it a priority, instead of restricting it, we will have significantly less school shootings.
Well, let me say this in regards to. I agree with you that tackling mental health would be a good idea, but the problem is the right does not like social programs, and you're going to need to be more friendlier with people getting access to healthcare for free if you want to do what you're talking about doing. Here's a good example. Anytime there's a mass casualty event, you can both the left and the right respond to it in ways they think that they give you their spiel on what they think the problem is. The left believes it is access to firearms. So in left-wing areas, you see them passing all kinds of laws, or at least attempting to limit access to guns, magazine things, magazine bans, whatever the case may be. Many people say it doesn't work. I get it. But you do see what the left is trying to do. Whether it works or not, you see what they think is the problem is gun ownership, and you see them trying to do things to limit access to guns. Now, the right, on the other hand, says access to guns has nothing to do with it. It's mental health. But when you look in right-wing areas, they don't do anything for mental health. You don't see them opening up more facilities or giving people free treatment. They're just telling you, we think the problem is mental health, it ain't guns, but we're doing nothing about mental health. So go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, one other thing I wanted to say was, another thing, and I agree with that 100%. And you know what? Like, I'm not a socialist or anything like that, but I'm willing to give and take. In order to solve problems, we need to be able to give and take.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know what? Let's try it. If it works, it works. Awesome. It saves the lives of many children.
Yeah, but here's the problem. You say let's try it. If it works, it works. The problem is it's a entitlement program. It is a social program. It's going to cost tax dollars. And the right does not want their tax dollars going to somebody who wants to get free access to a shrink or to a psychiatrist. They don't want to pay for it. So there's no way you're going to tackle mental health by telling everybody you got to go ahead and pay for all your own mental health treatment, because a lot of people can't afford to pay for it. And they don't want it. Obviously they don't want things like Obamacare or universal health care. So they don't want to give citizens free health care. So without free health care, you're not going to get this.
So to any Republicans hearing me right now, and I challenge you to think about this, what I'm about to say. What is the difference between that and solving this issue and having a resource officer at a school? Because either way, you're going to be paying for that.
Yeah.
Correct. So what's the difference?
My guess is you're gonna need both of them, though, handsome. You can't just. Even if you really get mental health under control, we live in a country where shit is always happening to create new mentally ill people. I'm talking about, like, for instance, the wealth divide that's going on right now. That creates mentally ill people, such as Elon coming in and firing all those federal workers. That's you ever heard of going postal? How people used to respond when they lost their job? Firing all them federal workers. You could have somebody who was totally happy-go-lucky, completely sane, and never would think of anything, and then you just destroy their whole fucking world like that, and now you got a mentally ill person on your hand. So you're always going to have mentally ill people because stuff like that is always happening.
So my thing, okay, and another thing is, I really do not feel like there are a lot of people in this country who are educated about firearms, right? And I feel like we need to educate people more. And the more people are educated, I feel like there's going to be less of a problem as well.
Well,
we create safety first programs. So when I was in high school, we used to have safety first programs where JROTC teachers would teach these type of classes.
okay.
And I agree with it 100%.
Well, this is where I keep talking about. I was mentioning earlier the National Rifle Association. I'm a fan of having mandatory gun training. Mandatory. I don't believe that if a person has been carrying around a .22 all their lives, they should be able to just go out and buy a 50 cal. I think you should have to have training on what you own. And that's the problem is the gun side of, the 2A people don't believe you should be able to require people to be trained on what they use. And this is where accidents can happen. I don't see anything wrong with it, but the belief is that if you pass any law at all, it's going to be a stepping stone towards total confiscation of guns. So as a result, even stuff that might be common sense is going to get fought against because they think you're on the path to taking guns away completely.
100%. You know what I will tell you is I agree with you there, and I am a First Amendment person. But at the end of the day, we need to be, we need to, I'm sorry, First and Second Amendment. I apologize.
There you go.
But we need to be able to solve this problem. And again, there needs to be a give and take. So yes, I do agree with training in the sense of, hey, educating people, right? Educating people can be part of that training.
Yeah.
Right?
But you gotta have. I mean, the access to mental health has got to be free. You got to give people access to mental health, and this whole notion of pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It's like, for instance, one of the individuals on Clapper said if there was more, there would be more help for mental health if people didn't fake mental health. So I don't want to give people access to free mental health because some people are going to fake it and I guess cheat. Huh?
People do not fake mental health. I'm sorry, but they don't.
I'm just saying, this is the problem where you don't get many social programs from the right is because anytime you talk about a social program for the downtrodden, the first thing that they think about is, well, some people are going to get it that don't deserve it, so I don't want to give food stamps out because somebody's going to be just having kids to get free food stamps. So as a result of helping out the poor, and maybe a few people that don't deserve it sneak in, they would rather cancel all the people who really need it so that they ban the people that might be committing fraud. They focus on the fraud all the time.
Yeah.
And here we are.
This is where my independent side comes in, Handsome. One thing I'm gonna say, and then I'll let you get to other people. Is, you know what, we need to live in a world, right, where we're, and this is a person, coming from a person who voted for Trump, right, we need to think of others as well, not just ourselves, right, and we need to live in a world where we can coexist with each other, but at the same time, we need to be able to defend ourselves from tyranny. We need to be able to defend ourselves from those who threaten us.
I don't know I'll talk about it on the other side, but the tyranny thing, I do want to speak on that, but I'll go ahead and move it on from you, Handsome. Thank you for coming through.
Yeah.
All right.
God bless. Have a good night.
You too. Now, I want to say this real quick in regards to owning a firearm to protect us from tyranny, because you do hear people say that oftentimes. If you get rid of, one of the main reasons, there's 3 reasons to own a firearm: to protect yourself or family or your homestead or whatever. Second reason is obviously to hunt and feed your family. And then number 3 is to stave off tyranny. You hear those are the 3 primary reasons people say we should be able to have the Second Amendment. I'm totally fine with the first 2. Protecting loved ones and family and homestead, and certainly hunting for food. The last one I think is ridiculous in 2025. I think it's insane. And not only even in 2025. We've had the Second Amendment since the late 1700s, 1789, something like that. However far back it goes, but it's in the late 1700s. We've had the Second Amendment the whole time. And we've had women's oppression. We've had slavery, we've had Jim Crow, we've had people being denied the right to vote. The point I'm making is this: you've had tyranny running alongside the Second Amendment almost all of USA's existence. So the idea that the Second Amendment prevents you from tyranny makes no sense at all. People were literally being held in bondage People were literally being prevented from voting, prevented from going to certain neighborhoods. You had tyranny most of USA's history while the Second Amendment was in place. So the Second Amendment does not prevent tyranny. There's just no, I mean, there's way too many examples of it happening all over the damn country. So it just does not prevent tyranny at all. It's more of a tyrannical safety blanket that you got a house full of shit and you feel confident that ain't nobody gonna fuck with me, fuck around and find out I got shit all in the closet shelf and on top of the refrigerator. Anybody coming here, they ain't getting it. You do realize there's missiles and fucking drones and there's powders and gases. You're not gonna stop a tyrannical government. You can ask David Koresh of Waco, Texas, that shit. He had more in that Branch Davidian compound than virtually every American has in their dwelling. And when they wanted him, they got him. Took a few extra days. He took 4 or 5 of them out, but when they wanted him, they got him. There's nothing you're gonna do to stop tyranny in the modern age of weapons. You just can't get your hands on enough shit to even come close to doing that. And as I stated, David Koresh had a hell of a lot of shit in his house or in that compound. And not only did he have a lot of shit in the compound, he had a lot of people willing to use it. How many people are in your house willing to take on the government in a firefight? He had like 80 people in there. I mean, rounds coming out of the fucking walls and shit like that. They were putting up a real good fight and they got taken down. You don't got nothing like that in your crib. You got nowhere near that much. And they lost. So you ain't gonna stop tyranny. That's just a dream. And I see in the comments, no reply says, not facts. Tim knows nothing about warfare in the modern age. I know that the citizens can't stop the government. I know that much. I'll just tell you this. The reason why folks believe tyranny will work to stop the government is because you're believing that the government will have limitations. A true tyrannical government, I'm talking about Gestapo type shit. I'm talking about Saddam Hussein type shit, where they're willing to use everything on you. You believe they're gonna come gun for gun and get in a firefight, knocking door on door, and you can actually get in a black. That ain't, no. You got a truly tyrannical leader that uses all of the might of the military, everything they can get their hands on, you have no fucking chance. You have no fucking chance. If they really want to take it, gas your whole fucking neighborhood. Like what Saddam Hussein was doing. He's using biological weapons on his own people. You're not going to be able to stop that with what you got in the crib. There's no chance of you stopping that. You're thinking tyranny is going to work because you're expecting the leader or whoever's operating the tyrannical government to do it with all sorts of limitations. But if they use the full might of what they got, you have zero chance of stopping that. Zero. Second Amendment is like the street code for rather get caught with it than without it. Even if you think government is too strong, you will go out on your own terms. And that's fine. That's fine. Give me liberty or give me death. I don't mind that argument. But understand that's exactly what it is that you're going to be a Charleston Heston from my cold dead hands. I mean, you got some people thinking they could win. They're the ones I'm talking about. You got some folks who actually think they could win. It ain't happening. It just ain't happening. Tim, there are 150 million gun owners, and there are only 1 million American soldiers, and that's before deflection. You are wrong. Well, once again, you're doing exactly what I just mentioned, no reply. You're expecting a firefight between, like World War I, where you got a no man's land, and everybody's shooting at each other. You're going to tell me there's only 1 million American soldiers and there's 150 million gun owners. Yeah, but you're not counting missiles. You're not taking into account biological weapons. You're not taking into account drones. The 150 million gun owners, most of them ain't got none of that shit. It's in the hands of the 1 million. The 1 million soldiers are the ones that got all of that shit. And that's the stuff that can take out tens of thousands of you per piece. Per piece. The 150 million gun owners in America have very little ordnance that can take out whole neighborhoods. The 1 million soldiers, they got surplus of that shit. They got shit that can take out whole neighborhoods. They got shit that can loiter unmanned over your area and pop any moving target that pops up on IR. The 150 million people ain't got none of that stuff. They can literally have you afraid to leave your crib because something is buzzing up overhead and you know it'll shoot anything that comes outside. The 150 million ain't got none of that shit. So you think when you're talking about this 150 million or 1 million, you're expecting it to be projectile on projectile. No, they got all kinds of more shit. Just say it like my guy in the comments said. I'd rather go out, on my own terms or whatever the case may be. That's fine. Give me liberty, give me death. But at the end of the day, you are going out. If you let's say Trump really wanted to go tyrannical. First of all, a lot of MAGA is going to help him too. So when you start talking about 150 million to one, you're assuming all 150 million American gun owners are all going to be on the same side. That ain't going to happen. That's not going to happen. Some people are going to be for the tyranny. In every country where there's tyranny, we can talk about Nazi Germany, since that's the one that comes up all the time. A lot of the citizens were for it. So you don't even have all the citizens on your side. Not to mention all the snitches and shit that's going to be among that and all of the traitors and stuff that's among that. So they're not even all united. You guys have been watching too much Red Dawn, if you ask me. Looking in the comments, so sorry, do you realize what 150 million guns is? What is if the military, okay, I give you Black Wall Street. I don't know how many of you folks are familiar with what happened in Black Wall Street, but you had white citizens try to take over a black thriving area, and it was gun versus gun. A lot of the black citizens had guns. The white citizens tapped into the World War I aircraft. So then they started flying aircraft over the neighborhood and dropping. Back in them days, it was the little hand grenade bombs you'd fly and look down and drop it. They didn't, but they tapped into higher. It doesn't matter what kind of guns you got. If all of a sudden your tyrannical leader starts using A-10s, what are you gonna do? You're gonna shoot an AR-15 at an A-10? You're gonna be shooting it at jets. Do you realize what the shit that they got? I hate that we even having this conversation, but you think the 150 million people on the ground gonna put up a fight with the at best 50 cal? That's probably the best thing the average citizen have. You really think they're gonna put up a fight? And they're using A-10s and they're using long distance weapons that you can't even see coming upon you. And you guys are all standing there hiding in the dark with your magazines and bulletproof outfits on and shit. And you hear a whooshing sound and the whole block go up. You gotta think about this. Ain't 1700s. This is not the 1700s. Soviets used brutality in war crimes. U.S. used money and technology. The Taliban with flip-flops and untrained guys still won twice. Even when you're talking about those wars, though, whether you're talking about our loss in Vietnam or our battle in Afghanistan or even Iraq, understand in all three of those wars, the United States used restraint. George H.W. Bush, the senior, did not go to he didn't go all the way. He let Saddam Hussein live. In Vietnam, they didn't go to once again, they used restraint. They didn't go to the main, I want to say Hanoi or whatever the hell it was back then, but they used restraint. If you got a truly tyrannical leader that does not use restraint, you lose. The only way you win like Afghanistan or Vietnam is you have to have a leader that's going to show restraint. If you think that you can count on that, that's where the problem is. If they actually want to truly be tyrannical, let's say, for instance, a good example right now would be Benjamin Netanyahu with the folks in Gaza. He is not using much restraint. I mean, up to and including starving them to death. That's another one you didn't think of, where all of a sudden you can't get food. You can't get anything to eat in your area. It's not hard to fly over and drop some shit so that you can't plant any crops. Isn't that what Agent Orange was about? So you're not counting any of that stuff. You guys, you just don't understand what a tyrannical leader has at his disposal. Just simply having a bunch of people with guns ain't gonna do it. I mean, if that was the case, then China should easily have taken over the United States because there's way more of them than us. Just hand them all a rifle and they'll come over here and win. Irrespective of all the nuclear weapons and all the other technology we got on. Just having a gun, it's far more of them, they should win. No, it doesn't work like that. Look, I'll just say it this way. If you want to enjoy the security blanket of thinking your firearm helps protect you against tyranny, go for it. I'm 100% okay with defending your family, CCW guy myself, but I don't pretend like the shit I have in my crib is gonna help me stop tyranny. I know it won't. I'm 100% certain it won't. If they want to get in here and get to me, they rip off the whole front of your fucking house. You realize how many people get in shootouts with the cops and lose every day? Barricade themselves in the crib and lose. Who says we can't get heavy artillery? They do. If you get your hands on heavy artillery, you realize all of that stuff can be spotted from the air? You do realize that, right? You still realize you need fuel? All of that can be stopped. Where you gonna fill it? Where you gonna put the fuel in it at? All of that can be shot and blown up from here. We've taken out countries, but you gonna win, huh? You don't think the Iraqis and all of them thought about that same shit? They had artillery. We flew over their country and blew all that shit up one by one. You think you gonna run the neighborhood like that and we taking out whole countries? All right, let me go back to the box. Somebody let me know in the comments. Maybe I'm getting it wrong because I want somebody to tell me how the citizens are gonna rise up and prevent tyranny if you really had a truly tyrannical leader. Deboo, tell me what I'm getting wrong, man.
Oh, bud, you're just about right about everything, just as usual.
But they're telling me that if you got 150 million armed citizens, they can stop a tyrannical government. What are they seeing that I'm not seeing?
No, I mean, have you seen that Jim Jeffries skit? Or the
I know the
comedy
comedian.
special?
I know the comedian, but I haven't seen the skit.
Yeah, he does one about gun control, and he basically was saying the same thing you're saying. He said, you do realize they have drones, right? You got that.
I don't even think you could stop them with 1970s technology.
Sorry, what?
I said, I don't even think you would have been able to stop them with 1970s technology. But this shit they got out now, as Cat Williams would say, this shit right here, there's just no chance.
Yeah, and it's like you were saying too. I mean, it goes a lot farther than just physical warfare too.
Right.
You know, they can cut off food, they can cut off fuel, they can barricade cities off. I mean, there's so much that people don't think about. It's not the Western times anymore.
Yeah, turn off the water supply. I mean, just literally, that's what Netanyahu is doing, just wear you down by starving you to death. I mean, yeah, I think they're missing out on a host of this, but apparently they think otherwise. To me, it's a security blanket. If you want to go to bed with your, with the AR sleeping next to you on the pillow and it makes you feel good, I'm all for it, but if they want to come in, they coming in.
Yeah, and I'm not super anti-gun either. I mean, I've owned guns. I believe in common sense gun laws. I don't think psychopaths should have guns. I think that should be fucking common sense. But here we are arguing over. I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't understand why we have to go to such extremes on either side. I mean, and I think that's what the topic of the video was originally. It really seems that there's slim to none as far as middle ground anymore.
What do you think has gotten us here? I mean, was it what has gotten us here? I mean, did it start with, did Obama do this? Biden, Trump? What has gotten us to the point where we're so damn divided?
Well, I mean, I don't want to be the guy that says it's directly Trump's fault, but he has a lot to do with it. I mean, political warfare has been his thing since he started running. I mean, it's no secret. He uses divisiveness. Divisiveness is his playbook.
Mm.
And the thing that's weird about him too is he hasn't always been like that. and I mean, you go back to his celebrity, his Apprentice days. You go back to some of his earlier appearances on news networks and stuff like that. He seemed like a pretty decently humble guy.
Well, really? You think he came across as humble?
I mean, back then, think about in contrast to today. I mean,
No.
the guy today, he can't say a single sentence. It doesn't matter what the fucking topic is. He can't say a single sentence that doesn't involve himself.
Yeah, I think, wasn't he on TV saying he don't even feel sorry with Biden's cancer diagnosis? I think he just said that today or yesterday, that he don't even feel sorry with Biden having cancer.
It wouldn't surprise me. It's like you're talking about flood the zone. There's so much shit that the guy does that you just can't keep up with it, and that's why I think he gets away with a lot of the rhetoric that he pulls, because it's too hard to keep up with.
But then I have to wonder, how bad are the Democrats? How much do the liberals suck that if he can be as divisive as you're pointing out, and I don't totally disagree with you at all, he can say some of the most controversial shit, but yet the polls show that he is either competitive with the Democrats or often beating them. The Democrats must really suck.
Well, we're in the gotcha culture, and right now Republicans are winning the gotcha culture. I feel like the majority of people fall on their side because it's like you said, they're winning. You know, not necessarily realistically, but metaphorically anyways. You know, they feel like they're winning.
I think realistically they win it too. They want the immigrants gone. They want the LGBTQ stuff under control. They want the border secure. They are getting most of what they want.
I'm talking more financially, you know. So,
okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what do we do about it? I think we need to find someone that is capable of speaking to both sides unbiasedly, but also having a sense of humor.
Yeah, but if you are...
People don't like the cut and dry politician anymore. That's realistically what's going on right now. It's like shock culture.
Yeah,
you know,
but
people like...
I get your point about someone that can speak to both sides, but I think there's a large contingent of voters in this country that like the attack. You know, look, I like somebody who punches back. So if you are speaking more, you know, like what I try to do, I try to talk to both sides and things like that. Now, while I don't talk down to my guests and I make that my motto, I get folks in the comments saying all kinds of vile shit about me every day. So the problem is, if you are a person that's trying to be humble, so to speak, as you're talking about, and talk to both sides, you essentially become a punching bag. Because it ain't gonna, just like with Trump, if you don't say nothing bad about Trump, if the media stops talking about Trump, that ain't gonna stop him from talking about them. They'll just become a punching bag.
Well, I think you can do it and still punch back. And I'm going to go ahead and use this opportunity to plug Jon Stewart. You know, I always do every time.
You do.
But yeah, no, honestly, like, not even necessarily him, but just someone like him with a personality that people already know. You know, they're funny. They still have their own antics in a way, because, like I said, people like shock culture these days. That's all it is. We don't care about policies anymore. We don't care about the price at the grocery store anymore. What we care about is being able to laugh and say "gotcha" to your coworker, you know, or your fucking aunt or uncle.
It just makes me think we're gonna all be out somewhere in the middle of a destroyed town full of rubble, teeth falling out of our mouths, wearing dirty clothes, and I'm smiling, but I got you. We ain't got shit. But I'm happy to say I was right. Is that where we're headed?
Yeah, and sadly, I mean, I think social media has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
As cool of a tool as it is, it's just, I don't think people were meant to, as weirdly, like, almost racist as it sounds, I don't think people were meant to mix cultures to this degree. You know what I'm saying?
What do you mean?
I guess what I mean is people aren't mentally.
I think I'm hearing digital.
Racist, bro.
Sound like
That's what I'm saying.
Sound like you're talking about digital segregation.
What I'm saying is white people are racist as fuck, and we can't handle other cultures. That's what I'm saying, bro.
Well, but I mean, if you go to blacks, black folks blame every damn thing on white people too, though. So I mean, no matter where you go, you gonna hear it.
If we're being honest, I mean, isn't that kind of what all this stemmed from?
What do you mean?
White people just couldn't stand that a brother got in office. I mean, realistically.
Whoa, that's a hot button. That's a whole different line. So you believe that Trump, the only reason Trump has risen to power and risen to glory is because a lot of whites were hateful that we finally put a black man in office.
Well, I know one thing is for sure is that he ran because of Obama. If you go back,
Chris Christie says that the correspondence dinner.
Yeah, because Obama made fun of him. Which, I mean, the guy's just so fucking petty. It was a simple joke. I mean, but either way, here we are, and he's basically taking over the fucking world. So, what do you do?
Any chance we come together after his 4 years?
Like I said, it's gonna take somebody somebody that's kind but funny. They can still kind of keep that shock value, and somebody that's willing to not toe the line to either side.
So in other words, we need to be protecting Jon Stewart at all costs.
Yes, sir. You know it. Hey, actually, I'm gonna give up the rest of my talking time. I want you to look up a video right now to watch with your viewers.
It's something short.
It's decently short. It's just it's Dave Chappelle talking at Jon Stewart's Mark Twain prize.
Okay.
By the way, props to Matt Reacts today. I actually agreed with some of the stuff he said.
Yeah, MAGA Reacts ain't. MAGA Reacts likes a good debate, but he ain't. I mean, look, the guy used to hang around DMX and ride with the Rough Riders, so he's been to a few cookouts. He ain't that far gone. I think MAGA Reacts likes to put on a show.
Hey, I'd like to know what he thinks about Jon Stewart.
Well, if you support Trump, you probably wouldn't like Jon Stewart. The only video I see on Dave Chappelle is like 8 minutes long, though. It's an acceptance speech at the Mark Twain Prize.
Tell you what, I'll send it to you in your DMs, and you can make a short on it or something like that.
Please do. Thank you for coming through.
All right, my man. Take care.
All right, you too. Something I wanted to respond to. NG, thank you for the support. Says NG says if it got to that point, we're talking about staving off tyranny, and he's saying if it got to that point, the government would lose. You think Russia wouldn't help with the civilians' attention any way possible? Yeah, that would happen. I do agree with that. That if all of a sudden we had civil unrest in this country, and it don't even have to be tyranny between government versus citizen. It could be a race war. It could be any type of division in this country whatsoever. Our enemies are going to pick a side because they want the country to fall apart. The same shit we do in other countries. Anytime a country is starting to fall apart that we don't like, we pick a side, usually the side that's at its weakest, because it'll keep the shit going on longer. Like, okay, let's say, for instance, it was black versus white, God forbid. Obviously, blacks are a much, much smaller part of the population, so theoretically, it should be a loss for the black population. But then all of a sudden, if one of these other state sponsors jump in and start giving the black population all sorts of assistance, surveillance, and technology, even if they still lose, you could draw it on for a lot longer, have a lot more casualties, and fracture the country in half. So yeah, I do believe that if something like that happened, you would get other countries jumping into it. I don't know if that counts as the government losing, though. Didn't count. Appreciate that. Thank you. I don't know if that counts as the government losing, though. I think still, in the end, the government's going to win. They just have too much shit. I mean, let's say Russia did want to jump in and help citizens. they still have to get here. So, I mean, the government is still protecting the border. So it ain't like Russia going to be able to bring a whole bunch of shit here without dealing with the government themselves. You can't come get in our shit. I mean, we're going to see them coming through the Atlantic or coming across the Pacific. So I don't know, even in that case. I think that if the government wants you, the government's going to get you. Going back to the box, Dencal. Appreciate the support, by the way. Thank you. So now stealthily is the way to go. Stealth is always the way to go, you ask me. Dencal, good evening. I'm not an open carry guy. I think open carry is dangerous. Dencal, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
What am I getting wrong? Can you stave off government during tyranny? Can the citizens win?
No. Some of these people on here, like you said, they've been watching too much TV and stuff like that.
Yeah, Red Dawn. They've been watching Red Dawn.
They don't understand. We got, the type of weapons we have. Some of the stuff they don't even understand. Like we got high altitude drones that can tell you the date on a dime laying on the ground.
Damn.
They can put some of these laser guided missiles in through your back door.
Yeah.
Like all of that, we gonna be fighting them, and that's not how it's gonna work. We seeing right now what's happening with Ukraine and Russia, how it's turning into purely a fight over drones.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something. You raise a good point because I watched some of the dark web shit, some of the war footage over there, and yeah, there are plenty of people that the last thing they do before they get blown to bits is they're taking their long rifle and they're trying to shoot at a drone that's chasing them through the forest. Like you're not gonna. Hey, you realize how many of those the United States government could produce? Talking about there's 150 armed Americans. You realize how many the government could produce of those things if they needed to?
Right, and those are the ones you can buy at like Toys R Us.
It's little shit like this. This right here,
yeah.
I could strap enough on this right here to easily take out a small house. Maybe a few rooms of a house.
Right. They have no idea what they're talking about. I know from my days in the military, I used to be amazed. I was, in the Navy, and I would walk down the pier in Norfolk, Virginia, and realize just one of those ships or aircraft carriers had enough firepower to take out half of the world. Just one ship.
Damn.
So they have no idea what they're talking about. To me, we could do this, and we could, we could get artillery too. You have no idea what they could do when they could turn off your water, when they could turn off your electricity, when they can come in with night vision, and they could, it's not even a question of whether we could fight them or not.
Yeah.
That won't happen.
I mean, when you see how quick we actually neutralized what they had in Iraq, and the average American citizen don't have nowhere near what Saddam Hussein's army had, how quick we neutralized them, and you think you and your boys in your neighborhood are gonna be able to? I just don't understand. It's just a security blanket, in my opinion.
We drove down the street with Humvees and went straight to Baghdad.
Yeah.
And not even talking about the MRAPs and the stuff we
Right.
have now, man. It's not gonna be a competition. I don't care how many AKs you got or ARs. None of that stuff really matters when it comes down to trying to actually. And the stuff we was talking about with David Koresh, that wasn't even no big time stuff. They took one batter ram in there, they had about 20 or 30 agents out there, and they took him out. Just imagine what they could do if they sent they sent out a couple of SEAL teams to take out, to take out these militia groups and these people talking about, man, it would be a slaughter out.
But let me ask it to you this way, because this is edgy in the comments. Says, okay, he does say thank you for your service, Dencal. He says, but the Taliban is laughing at us right now with all those powerful weapons in their possession after they chastised our military. So he's making it sound like they not only chastised our military and pushed us out of the country, they got to keep a lot of consolation prizes for themselves.
Yeah, but that's because they didn't understand. We did not lose. We pulled out because we got tired and weary.
And the country was battle. We had battle fatigue. They had been telling every president after Bush, bring our troops home. We not winning nothing over there. We fought over there in Afghanistan for 20 years for what? They had nothing to offer us. All of those people died for no reason. But we didn't lose. Like if we really wanted to, we could have just, turned the whole damn country into into an ice skating rink.
Right.
But we just, we just got weary, and the military had a hard time convincing people it was to our benefit to be there. We didn't lose because they beat us. Just the same way Russia had to leave Afghanistan too. They just waited them out. They just hid in caves and attacked them until they had the power to just blow the caves up if they wanted to.
Yeah, and that was my exactly the blow the caves up power is that's my stance on it is that when folks think that they can give the U.S. government a fight for their money, they're expecting the U.S. government to have a limited amount of warfare against them. But like you said, just blow the kids. If you just say I'm going to turn this whole place into as you say, a skating rink or whatever, you don't have nothing to stop that. You're expecting them to send in infantry where you guys can take pot shots at each other and things like that. You're not expecting a tyrannical leader to just say, fuck it, get rid of that whole neighborhood. Now, if you do it that way, there's nothing in that neighborhood that's going to stop them.
Right, and these people on here like Cedric Haney talking about, well, the military would split and all of that stuff. Them people sitting inside them NSA headquarters, the ones that control the drones and shit, you wouldn't even have to call out no infantry or nothing like that.
Yeah.
You can target places, and there wouldn't have to be no hand-to-hand, no gun battles or nothing. They misunderstanding the playing field is different now.
Yeah. But I would normally agree with him on the notion that the military might split out of sympathy for killing fellow Americans if it wasn't what you talked about, where now war can be so impersonal. If you got to be on the ground fighting from house to house and you go into the home of another American, you might have some sympathy and not want to take out your fellow. But if you're doing it from a air-conditioned facility in Nevada and you're blowing up something in Maine where you're just looking at infrared shadows and silhouettes, it's a lot easier to do it. I mean, so,
right.
Yeah, under the current technology where you're just pushing buttons and taking out blips and beeps, I don't think you're going to split the military up as much as you would have maybe in the 1700s, so to speak, when you had to have personal contact with the people. That ain't happening now.
Right, I think that's like that's just a way for people to justify their 2A stuff, but it has nothing. It has nothing to do with that stuff now. They just creating rationale behind this stuff. When we know that the 2A, when it was first developed, people had muskets and shit. There was everybody keep a gun because you could fight against the military then because there was no difference in the type of artillery you had in the army, the military.
Yeah, everybody was on horseback. Everybody used the same muzzle. Yeah, you had a real good chance of pushing back then. You don't have that chance now.
Yeah. Right. Or if you have you got one guy in your clique that owns a 50 cal and you think you about to go to war with somebody, it's not the same. I mean, they got uranium depleted rounds that go through armor like butter, and when the rounds go into through armor plating. It basically is so hot it will incinerate you inside your vehicle. These people have no idea what the military could do if that was what it was. If it was a tyrannical government and it was the people against the government, we would lose hands down every time. Yeah,
and I mean, because the weapon that Trump used to take out Soleimani with, I looked at the research on it. It's some kind of flying Ginsu knife weapon. So you're driving a car, and this missile, when it gets close to hitting the target, sharp blades come out of it. It doesn't blow up, just sharp blades come out of it.
Right.
And the inertia, it just literally goes through. It literally goes through your car and slices the whole damn car up like a pie. So, and that's why Soleimani's thumb, you know, the picture of his thumb is on the ground. It literally just cut the guy to pieces. So, what are you gonna do with some shit like that with your AR-15?
You got to remember that every time we go through a conflict, or even when conflicts of other people happen, and you see every time there's always this new stuff that nobody knew about when the military. Because when we had that, what was it? It wasn't the Iron Dome, but it was the Patriot missiles.
Yeah.
Like, nobody knew that we could actually shoot other people's missiles out of the sky. And all of these different weapons, where they got weapons now that if they hide behind a brick wall, all you got to do is shoot over the top of the brick wall, and when it gets past the brick wall, it'll drop bombs behind. Like, there's so much stuff that we have that people will never know about unless a conflict happens.
Until they start dying. Yeah, they won't know about it.
People be saying, like, yeah, you know, I got artillery, I got 100 guns in my house. You can only use one at a time.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that's why I mentioned David Koresh with the Branch Davidian. I'm like, that's the perfect two-way example where you got plenty of firearms in your house and you have plenty of trigger fingers in the house to use all of your weapons, and they still lost. They had like 80 people in the house, kids and everything were firing, and they still lost. So the government wants you.
They cut off the power to them.
Yeah.
And they used their little generators for a couple of days. No water production, you know, no water, and like sooner or later, you know, you're gonna give up. But like I said, they went in there with, you know, 50 people maybe into a place with all of this artillery. It means nothing. It means nothing if the type of artillery they're using is superior to yours.
Yeah.
It don't matter.
And that's what, and that's what I was telling them. I mean, if simple manpower and trigger fingers was all it took to win, then China should be easily able to take America out. So with India, I think does India have more people than we do? I know China does.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So
they in the billions like China is.
right. So I mean, if that's all it took is more people with guns in their hand, then we should lose to both of them. And I certainly don't think we would lose to India. China, maybe so nowadays, but I want to read this. Edgy also called you out again. He said, we did not lose. Did you not see me using my face to block their punches? What? He said, Cal, we did not lose. Did you not see me using my face to block their punches? Okay, so I don't quite understand what you're saying there, but Supercell Fusion says, same here. Me and Dencal, we served, and there are secret weapons we don't even see or hear of. That's the dangerous part. So in other words, they do have shit that you don't know until they start using it to kill people with.
Right. And look, and we got even better once we went to Iraq and we started going door to door. We had to learn how to do urban fighting, which was not our forte. But after all of them years in Iraq and Fallujah, don't you think we got better at it?
Yep. And that's the thing. That's one reason why America does remain a superpower, is because, you know, nothing makes you better at something than constantly training. And we, unlike most countries on earth, we've been at war almost constantly since World War II. We've either been at war, preparing for war, or about to go to war. Like right now, we've gotten out of Afghanistan, we've gotten out of Iraq, and here Trump is talking about building another dome. I mean, we constantly, we are always preparing for it. Before Iraq and Afghanistan, it was a lengthy Cold War. Not to mention the Vietnam War and all these other little conflicts in between. We are always preparing for war. So that you do tend to get good at it because you're always doing it.
And that's nothing new what he's talking about. He put another name on it, but we've been working on that since Reagan. And the what did he call it? Space? I forgot, but Reagan started it, and it was something about, you know, Star Wars or something like that. He had a name for it back in the day. We've never stopped.
Yeah.
We never stopped. When you hear about people, when you hear about weapons and stuff, we tried this and that. We don't stop until we perfect it. Like, I've been on boats who use laser weapons. I'm talking about 15 years ago, where we was out there practicing shooting down targets using lasers. Like, I was on the ship when we did it.
So we actually do have the ability to use light as a weapon?
Yes. We
Wow.
were using beams of light that you couldn't even see, and we were taking out aerial and seaborne vessels. But we use they call it the orange pumpkin or something. It's just like a target that we use long distance. And yes, we were burning them things up, taking out the engine compartments, taking out. I'm talking about flying targets. They would be on like you know how the planes pull like a sign behind it.
Yeah.
But they would be pulling like unmanned like aerial.
Okay. A
like
target,
planes.
something you can target.
They would be dragging them. Yeah, they would be dragging them through the sky, and we were like taking target practice at that stuff. Like we got unmanned submarines.
So when you're using light as a weapon, is it like what you see in the movies where you see the red line, or is it completely invisible to the naked eye?
It was invisible. We couldn't see the beam.
The reason I'm asking that is because if you can do that, then that means you can actually cause plane crashes and deny you had anything to do with it.
Bro, that's why I'm saying all of this shit like we could do this to them. Caleb been here talking about, bro, that shit never went into operational. Bro, they don't just stop, man, when they testing this shit. If it don't work, they work on it again, they try it again until they perfect it. There is no, we didn't just stop. We had unmanned helicopters back then. I'm talking about when I've been retired for 15 years, and it was probably 10 years before. I'm talking about 25 years ago, we had unmanned helicopters.
Man. So, yeah, wow. I mean, the laser thing, I still was thinking I was still in the future. Holy shit. Man, so
we was having dolphins go underwater and take damn and drop off damn mines and shit, or go and get close to damn submarines because they got ultrasonic hearing. You know, the like the dolphins can hear shit, like, you know. And so we would send dolphins out, and they would go out and find targets, locate them, and drop mines close to them, and blow. Like they have no idea what the military.
Yeah, they just like a dog. They think it's playing.
Yeah, Caleb, they did not end shit after Vietnam. The military does not give up on weapon systems. They just perfect them.
You know, and I see in the comments, one of the viewers said, you know, the only department Doge didn't touch. That's one of the reasons why we can't give American citizens any sort of, you know, programs like, you know, welfare or universal health. It's spending too much money on this shit that no other country is forking over so much money on defense like we do. And really, it ain't defense, it's offense. Most of this shit that we're talking about, we're gonna use this stuff for offense. It ain't gonna be used for defense. It's gonna be used, it's gonna be used in some other country for offense. We keep talking about spending money on defense, but you're spending money on offense. And that's why we can never get around. Trump can talk all this America First shit and Doge and waste, fraud, and abuse, but he actually increased defense spending. I mean, he's spending more money there. So
right, and Obama tried to come in and he tried to reduce the military spending because he said, like we're saying, we don't fight. We don't need hundreds of battalions of men marching around. You know what I'm saying, looking like South Korea. Wars are fought differently now. We don't need we don't need all of this manpower, and he reduced manpower. They got mad at him, and then Trump comes in and say, "I rebuilt the military. I did everything. I made." It was so embarrassing what he was doing to those damn those cadets. Those cadets
with the trophy wives comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and was that West Point or where was that at? Was it West Point?
West Point.
Yeah. Yeah, talking about trophy wives and shit. Hey, what does that got to do with this conversation?
They said it was a private rebellion, and a lot of them people walked away and didn't shake his hand. But of course, they didn't show that on TV.
Yeah.
But yeah, like he went there and made the whole speech about him. He's wearing this damn campaign hat, you know what I'm saying? And he's not giving them any encouragement about what somebody that goes to a commencement is supposed to be. You're supposed to be talking about the future of the country, not saying, "Oh, the military ran down and shit," until I came and said, like, nobody wants to hear that shit.
Well,
you're dedicating your life to the military.
Well, but they're saying under Trump, enrollment is up. They're saying it's up a lot.
Yes, it's up because why? Because they use sign-on bonuses. The military has ways to increase or decrease enrollment. And one way to do is by offering enrollment and re-enlistment bonuses. Yeah, of course, if you offer some dude, some kid out of high school that we're gonna give you $40,000, you sign up for us for 4 years and they out in the streets and they ain't got no they got a baby on the way. Yeah, it's gonna be a bunch of people, but they not going there because they want to serve their country. Because trust me, when I was in, and I used to ask people all the time, like, now what made you join the military? And now one motherfucker was like, because I love this country. Everybody was like, because I got kicked out of the house, I got a family, I was in debt, everything except for now when you get into a military conflict, then
September 11th, you would have got those type of answers.
Right.
Yeah.
But all of these people coming in now, it's not because they want to fight for Trump or none of that shit, because they don't even want to go to war.
Yeah.
They don't want to fight for real. They out there talking about, I'm trying to get money for college. I'm trying to get that GI Bill.
Yeah. In the comments, Supercell Fusion says, I recommend Den Cal to watch the movie called We the President. It has Liam Neeson. Once you see that movie, it will change your perspective. Have you ever heard of that movie? I haven't heard of that. The President.
No movie is going to change my lived experience. I was there. I did 20 years in the service. This is not me, a spectator on the outside looking in. Now, do I have experience in all levels of the government? Was I hand-to-hand combat in Fallujah? No. But that doesn't mean that I didn't serve this country and preserve the right for everybody to be able to speak the way they want to. So I get it. Everybody that listens to me that may have a different political leaning than me may want to say, "Oh, you don't know shit" and all of that stuff. But I'm only talking from experience and what I live. So I don't need to watch a movie that was made by somebody wrote a movie and got a star to be in it to understand what the fuck I lived.
Well said. That's can't push back on that at all. Then I do got to move it on. Beautiful conversation. The laser thing scares me though. I did not know that. I mean, you're talking a generation ago. This shit has already been around. That's
and they got the anti-drone things where they can go set up and it's like a radar looking thing and it can scramble the signal for anybody trying to use a drone.
That I know. That I'm aware, because I still get NOTAMs which are telling you cannot fly in different zones, because when I fly my drone has quite a bit of GPS and capabilities like that. I can tell it to go to waypoints and things like that, and I had to register that one with the FAA, and it does tell you all that. So I know the drone stuff exists where they can literally they can block all your cell phones and everything too, no matter what band you're operating in, because like in Iraq, they would fly over in C5 or whatever one of the bigger aircraft are, and they would pose. Yeah, they would C-130. Yeah, they would pose as a cell tower. So your normal cell tower. So when they're flying around, they're catching all the cell phone signals. So they learned a lot of surveillance. So if you got some terrorists or whatever using cell phones and they're flying around acting as a cell tower, they're capturing those signals. And
everything.
Yeah, so they can shut down whole frequencies. So if you're controlling your drone 2.5 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz band, whatever band you're in, you can put jammers in there and shut all that stuff down. So that I knew existed. That's the ham radio guy in me. I knew about that stuff, but this laser shit I didn't know nothing about.
Right. Yeah, it's so much more technology out there. But America's they're not gonna show their hand unless they need to. So for anybody thinking that the society, the public at large is going to be able to somehow defeat a radical, government. Just delusion.
Yeah, and I could not agree more. Cal, appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yep, take care.
All right. And yeah, I'm surprised so many folks think that their two-way privileges would allow them to stop tyranny. Now, you heard all the shit that man was talking about, and he obviously with a lengthy military service. And like he said, he's been out 20 years, and he's talking about shit that I didn't know even existed. Maybe a lot of you folks did, but 2025, you just ain't. I mean, keep in mind the stuff you're using to prevent tyranny, that shit's old. How long have ARs and AKs and Glocks been around? You using old tech. All that stuff he's talking, all that stuff is evolving, all that's new shit. You using old things. You just using basically a projectile. Now, you might be to get your hands on a little bit of armor here or there. You might be to get your hands on a little bit of technology, but nowhere near the level that man was talking about. Nowhere. You're just not going to get anywhere near that kind of stuff. So I just don't see I don't even see why people think they can stop tyranny like that. Other than, like I said, unless you have a leader or a government that is tyrannical, but only in a limited fashion. If they get to the point where they have a fuck these people attitude, a push of a button can take everybody out in your zip code. Everyone. And that's not to mention all the starving by shutting off water and destroying agriculture and all that shit too. You have no chance at that. NG says, we couldn't stop janky spy balloons. Yes, so advanced. The spy balloon, obviously we could stop it because they shot it down with a missile. But I think the thing is, they knew the balloon belonged to China. And China was able to lie to them and tell them it was off course and it was not performing any surveillance over the U.S. mainland, and they just wanted to recover their product. So under the Biden administration, he just wanted to look like, all right, well, we won't blow this damn thing up. Just don't do it next time. Let this thing fly over, get your shit back, and be done. Now, obviously, the Trump administration was like, blow it up, blow it up, blow it up. And I believe they should have, because I do believe China was collecting surveillance. And I was mentioning posing as a cell tower, for instance. You could do that. If you fly over a country in one of those balloons, you literally can capture at that altitude, if you got the right equipment, you can capture all kinds of radio signals at that altitude. And we just record it. You can analyze it when the thing come back home. But you can capture all of the frequencies and all kinds of shit that's going on. And that thing was going over military bases and shit like that. So that's in addition to taking photos and all of that kind of stuff it could have been doing as well. We don't know because they never told us when they shot it down what they recovered. They never told us the details of what was on it. So we don't know, but I don't think they should have allowed it to fly over America either. Supercell Fusion says, I quote Dr. Evil, said dolphins with laser beams attached to their hands. LOL, watch out, Tim. Don't go near the water where you see dolphins with laser beams. He was talking about mines, though. He was talking about you can train them to drop mines near stuff. I've always heard the Navy has worked with dolphins. I didn't know to what capacity, but I have heard they work with dolphins. But he's saying you can train them to get near shit and place mines, underwater mines. Edgy says, LOL, didn't you live the experience of military get spanked a couple, and you still believe military? Military got spanked. Everywhere we went, the casualty was way more than it was for us. Part able to occupy, and they were in hiding. What do you mean we got spanked? We didn't get spanked. We got wore down. We just, and we even got wore down from a point of the U.S. citizens were pushing politicians to end that war. But if you left it up to the generals and we ignored the U.S., we could have stayed over there indefinitely and took over. No, we didn't get spanked. It's just the U.S. citizenry does not like caskets coming home. you know, a lot of these other countries have had war on their soil. They're used to conflicts. They're used to seeing bodies and people dying. In America, we're not. We've lived a sheltered life. Even in World War II, it was over there. It wasn't here. It was over. It was somewhere. A lot of these other countries have had war on their soil. So Americans do not have the temperament to see bodies coming home. Even with Iraq, I think like what 6,000, maybe 6,000 people lost their life compared to how many folks in the Middle East lost their life due to us during the Iraq War? About 1 million. So I wouldn't say we got spanked. Not to mention the leader of the country and his sons were murdered as a result. We didn't lose. We just went in and left without really accomplishing shit. They want our children to fight for corrupted pigs, says JD. Or Joe D, not JD, Joe D. I know promoted you to the vice president. Who wants our children to fight for corrupted pigs? That's a strong statement. Wow. The geographics have to just, I don't get what you're saying there. We are undefeated on our home field. Ask Mexico. Yeah, we are. I mean, but we haven't had a lot of attacks on our home field. I mean, I guess we dealt with the British. You mentioned in Mexico. I mean, we haven't. We haven't had the Japanese invading Hawaii, or I guess if you want to bring what Bin Laden did was not really. That really wasn't that was an act of terror. That wasn't an invasion. I mean, because everybody involved in it intentionally committed suicide. So the 19 hijackers, they weren't even trying to survive. So that's not, I guess you would say the Japanese in 41 was the last time our homeland was invaded. So we haven't had it happen much. Uday and Hussein got murked. Yeah, they did. They sure did. There's photos of their bodies all over the internet. Someone just said the world will be here in America. Wait a minute. Someone just said the world will be here in America, didn't you? I don't get what you're trying to say with the grammar there. We'll continue on though. And tap the screen, folks. Get the likes up to about 50,000. Lewis, appreciate you holding. Good evening. Welcome to the program. Maybe you can tell me if I'm getting it wrong. Does 2A give the people the power to stop tyranny?
I think it's just an illusion. Let me tell you something. There is no way that if a tyrannical government, any government, we're not just talking the United States government, if any government come into the United States, these little pea shooters will do no good whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm in the same category as you. I mean, I like I appreciate the bravery and all of that. The average citizen has little to no military training. I mean, you go to the range and shoot at steel targets occasionally while you're drinking a beer or two. You're just not gonna take on a government of trained people. I mean, like I think DenCal point.
They couldn't even take over. They couldn't even take on a National Guard unit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, right. They couldn't take over the federal government. Let's just be for real. I mean, there's just no way. I do want to compliment you on Special Agent.
What do you mean?
The live you was in earlier.
Oh my God.
See, Tim, now,
where do people like that come from, though?
Tim, how could he be that
daft?
They know the word for it.
I'm gonna say daft.
From Mississippi and be from Louisiana.
That might have something to do. And for folks who are watching, what he is talking about, I was having a debate or a conversation with another black conservative early before I started doing this live, and he was telling me that if the Confederates had won the Civil War, the treatment for African Americans would not have changed at all. And I mean, I still don't know how to handle that. I'm like, where did you grow up? Because I asked him, like, where did you get your education? You really believe that the Confederates, if they had won the war, they weren't going to do anything? Like, but then again,
Tim, he also said he was a conservative Muslim. I can't even believe you stayed in that conversation after he said that.
Yeah.
Especially after he said Farrakhan supported Trump.
He has some interesting points of view.
Farrakhan ain't supporting no white man. You know what I mean?
Right.
Trump or any white man. Now, don't get me wrong. He'll be more favorable toward the liberals because they do support more black endeavors. But he ain't trying to support. He ain't accepted nothing from no white man.
Well, but you do realize they got that statement they often play from Malcolm X talking about the Democratic Party, and obviously Malcolm X was associated with the Nation of Islam as well. You hear that come up all the time.
Well, Malcolm X was a separatist. He believed in separations. He didn't have any problems against white or black people, especially after he visited Mecca and seen all the white Muslims. It changed his whole perspective on racism and that kind of thing. But he neither one of them actually were Democrats or Republicans. They were liberals and conservatives, but they were not. Martin Luther King was not a Republican. I don't know where that came from. He did support whoever supported black people. No question about that. So he had an affinity for, I believe, Nixon. I believe he liked Nixon.
Martin Luther King did.
Yeah, I believe he was okay with that because Nixon was a con man. Nixon was kind of like, you know what I'm saying? He goes with whatever flow that makes him supports him. You know, that's how Nixon was too. And you see what kind of trouble Nixon ended up in, right?
Yeah.
And I think Trump's heading in the same direction, to be honest.
You think so? I don't know. I think in Trump's case, man, he got so much of America in terms of our leadership on his side. I do believe in the Fifth Avenue rule. I don't think that he can do anything and get in trouble at this point.
I think that if they win if the Democrats take back over the House, Trump will be impeached the third time.
Oh yeah, I believe that. I believe that without a shadow of a doubt. But I don't know how far it's going to go.
And if he mess around and they get the House and the Senate, he will be impeached and removed from office. There's no question about that.
Can America handle that? You know, MAGA ain't gonna just sit back. You hear my folks talking about they don't like tyranny. You think MAGA's gonna sit back and let this man, while he's in office, get kicked out? You see what happened on January 6th?
See, that's where we get back to that 2A issue at. Yeah, I mean, what are they really gonna do, Tim?
Shit, they gonna rise up. I mean, rise up and start rioting.
But then they gonna fall pretty quickly. There's no question about it, hands down. That don't get me wrong. There's a lot of MAGA in the military too, but overall, there's way more non-MAGA in the military than there is in the military. So yeah, that's not a question. I think people will come to their senses when Trump is not. MAGA is not going anywhere just because Trump leaves. For some reason, people seem to think that MAGA goes away if Trump goes away. MAGA is not going anywhere.
I don't think. I don't think MAGA would.
MAGA is the new Republican Party.
Yeah, I don't think MAGA would go. I don't think MAGA would go away if Trump's not there. But I do believe they would become more dormant because there is no other conservative that is as outspoken and has the leadership skills for a movement like that as Trump. I mean, I don't think Elon Musk is really well liked by MAGA, but he's not able to speak and move a crowd and energize people the way Trump is. And I mean, Don Jr. can't do it. Obviously, J.D. Vance is not going to do it. And maybe I think Ron DeSantis has some skills in him, but not to Trump's level. I don't think any Republican has that touch that Trump has. So once Trump is gone, the mindset of MAGA will be there, but I think the movement will be dormant. Just like the Tea Party and MAGA are very similar. But once Obama was gone and the movement,
MAGA is the Tea Party,
right?
Just on steroids.
Oh
you know
yeah.
what I'm saying?
They got better leadership.
I just had to. I only came in to bug you just about that special agent because now I'm telling you something. That answered a lot of questions for a lot of us, our culture, to think that we had people, even if you go back to the Civil War, that actually thought like him. For him to actually think that there were free slaves before the Civil War running around in the South.
Yeah, I asked him. I'm like, because I asked him. I was like, you really think that before the Civil War there were free slaves running around in the South? I'm like, they can't work anywhere. They're not free to travel. I mean, what could they do? They can't even move around the town without being grabbed up.
Trust me, if you gave a black man, even if you were one of those slave owners that were nice to your slaves, you gave one of them a gun and sent him out in the woods, he coming home dead.
Yep.
Unalive. I put it that way. There's no way in the world that those people are gonna let a black man walk around with a gun, hunt nothing.
Yeah.
In fact, when a slave owner told his they did no hunting. Let's get that part straight right off the bat. Slaves were not responsible for hunting and gathering. There's no way that they were going to be able to go out in the woods, not even with a sling or not with a slingshot,
right.
not with a BB gun. You ain't going hunting nowhere.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I have no clue where he got that.
Go out in the woods and kill something and bring it home to you, but you're not going out in the woods and you're not shooting nothing. Put it that way. It ain't happening.
I have no clue where he got that type of education from. But that some of the stuff he's saying is popular in conservative circles. Certainly the parties didn't switch. The Civil War was not about slavery. I mean, that stuff is very popular in conservative circles.
That's exactly where he got it from. That's what he's listening to. But the thing about it, Tim, that guy is 62 years old and is that naive on the race relationships of Americans. It's mind-boggling that he could be that ignorant. No, that's all it is. It's just ignorance.
Well, because if you can get rid of enough history, his story might become the actual truth. I mean, once you get rid of what happened, and you got people like him talking.
I agree 100%.
So,
well, keep doing what you're doing, Tim. I agree with him that 100% that you're fair. I think with him, you should have been a little bit more. You should have got mad.
I don't know.
I mean, I know you. I know inside you're just like.
It was a shock to hear somebody talking like that. It really was, particularly the part. I mean, he ain't the worst I've had though. I've had some people tell me that if the Confederates had won the Civil War, they were going to immediately free all black people.
That is so. Well, even him saying that he didn't think the war was about slavery says that his ignorance, because that is what it was about.
Yeah.
Let's just be for real.
So a lot of conservatives think otherwise.
Yeah, but what other reason would there be though? They didn't want to give up slaves. Let's just be for real.
They believe it was taxation.
And I understand. Don't get me wrong, Tim. You know the difference between. Don't get me wrong. There was just as many racist farm owners in the East as there was in the South. Mm-hmm. It's just that most family farms in the East could be run by families. It's just that those plantations down South, they needed the help. They needed the workers. And they wanted free labor. They didn't want to pay nobody for it. But so their reasoning made a lot of sense. I mean, no matter how you look at it, I'm not saying it was fair. I'm saying it made a lot of sense. They could not. You can't run a plantation with just your 5 kids and you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
can you imagine trying to run a sugar cane field that's 2,000 acres and it's just you and your family? You can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, I get your point, but I don't think you should.
And I'm not going to pay my livestock to do work. You know what I'm saying? So, so my thing is that slavery wouldn't have went nowhere if the South would have won. You and I would still be in bondage. There ain't no question about it.
Yikes! All right, Lewis. Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it. All right,
Take care.
You too. Moving on with the program, real quick in the comments, Edgy says, if you enter a fight thinking you will KO the other, it's only 12 rounds, but it turns out to be 100 rounds and you gas out and you have excuses. You got excuses to leave, you got spanked. Okay, under that definition you give, okay, you enter a fight thinking that you're going to knock the other guy out, and it's only 12 rounds, but it turns out to be 100. So, in other words, we thought we were going to take care of Iraq immediately, and it went on for years. And you're saying you end up gassing out. I hear what you're saying. I don't know. I don't think America got spanked by the Iraqis. I just don't. I think that we did. We backed out because our citizens were tired of being over there. I don't think we got spanked, but I understand your argument. Supercell Fusion says they will start saying saying MAGA lives matter. There'll be riots in them saying crazy stuff just like what happened to George Floyd. Wow. I do believe that if the Democrats win the House and Senate in the midterms and they try to impeach Trump, which I think they will try, but if they kick him out of office, I think there's going to be some MAGA that will try to do something. I can see that. Because Trump is going to say it ain't fair. We know that. We already know Trump is going to say it's weaponized. I don't care what they come up with, what evidence they present. Trump is going to say that stuff is fake. It was fabricated. So that's what hypes people up. Because the people think that they're fighting for democracy. They think the liberals are trying to destroy democracy and get rid of a duly elected president, because he will convince his people that whatever the liberals are doing is based all on lies. Same thing happened in the 2020 election. So I think, I mean, I don't know if it'll be widespread or just be a few radicals here and there doing shit, but somebody will do something if they kick Trump out. That's my opinion. Somebody will try to do something. And it won't be for a lack of Trump trying to make them do it, because his 4-hour gap during the Capitol building attack is pretty clear. He did not want that to end peacefully. From what I heard from Chris Christie and his daughter and Lori Ingram and Sean Hannity, they were all trying to call him. They were trying to call him on his personal phone to tell him, you need to tell these people to stop. He deliberately stopped answering the phone for like 4 hours. Nobody could get in touch with him. He stopped answering the phone. So he was hoping that shit got out of hand. 4 hours he took before going on TV. So he was hoping they got out of hand. Bureau of Prisons in the Central Plantation headquarters for reformed slavery. Huh? A mob mentality is easily manipulated. Yeah, I can see some of that. I don't know what I just hit there. But anyway, we had an interesting conversation. I didn't expect to get into the 2A stuff, but when folks started talking about they could stave off tyranny, I still think that's comical. But I do really appreciate Dencal's perspective tonight more than others, because I thought that was, because he opened my eyes up on some shit too, but I really thought that was a really just a great way to deal with that. The idea that, you got weapons in your home and your neighbors got weapons in their home, your friends and the whole neighborhood doing. If the government decided to become tyrannical, you got enough stuff in your possession to stop them. Thought it was crazy. Great point, Creed. Straight up loser mentality. That's why I'm happy to see so many of us breaking out of the Democrat plantation. The loser mentality. I'd like to know what that is. Losses more than their. Probably only black people have so many. When you think about the amount of losses, the black people have a record. That might be why they bringing it up more. Do the whites have any losses at all in America? Good thing is 20. Go out, go put down the black and mild and get a job, nigga. All right, Papa. All right, now that sounded a tad bit racist there. What is this? Don't say it. That would Give black people a better life. Don't say that. Okay, maybe it's getting late. Maybe time to wrap it up. It would be like coming to a sword fight with a butter knife. Yeah, the tyranny thing is comical to me. And like I always continue using, to me, David Koresh, Branch Davidians in Waco is a perfect example, where you got a house full of weapons and a lot of people in the house that are willing to fight the government. Most people talk about staving off tyranny don't have that. It's, I got enough to protect my family, and it's just a house of 5 or 6 people. They had a bunch of people in there, all willing to pull the trigger to stave off a tyrannical government, and they lost. So, yeah, I don't think there's any chance. Black people are undefeated. We are still here. We don't die. We multiply. With white women. Whoa! Who said that? Oh, my God. Oh, my Lord. Whose name is that? Dwight Dorsey? Oh, my God. We don't die. We multiply with white women. Well, what do you think are the chances, if it gets really bad, that there'll be a law to stop you from being able to multiply with white women? Keep in mind, most of America's history, you were not legally allowed to do that. I think 1964 is when they legalized interracial marriage federally. I mean, that you ain't always had the right to do that. We multiply with white women. Funny. Jeez. Like I said, you may get a little satisfaction from sniping a few times. That's what would happen. A few victories from the people, but the ultimate victory would go to the government. They would ultimately win. Don't say that would give people a better life. Anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. You guys are getting crazy. Thank you for the 45,000 likes. I didn't solicit many of them tonight. Just hoping that we can, as a country, figure out a way to be more unified. I don't see it right now. I just don't. I'm involved in a lot of other lives, as you heard my guy talking about me with the black conservative. Most of the lives I go to are conservative. I don't go to a lot of liberal pages. When I'm not engaging with you folks here, I'm usually on a conservative platform. Like Black MAGA, I'll go, not just black, but usually MAGA is where you're going to find me. And I enjoy the engagement with MAGA. But yeah, it can be interesting out there. And man, the division is awful. I'm not one that talks down the guests. I don't fling names at people I disagree with, but them, do they do it to me? God, do they do it to me? In fact, a lot of times I go in there and I end up getting blocked or banned or thrown out because they don't like the opposing opinion. So I don't know how we're going to get past the divide. All I can say is I hope we will. I have seen you on Conservative Live, says Slim Buick. Yeah, if I'm not on here, you're going to see me on there. I don't go to many liberal lives at all. I just don't. I gawk at white women in honor of Emmett Till. Eric, it's late. It's late. It's your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. I don't have anything to say for that. I'm going to get my ass off here because you guys are getting more than crazy. Catch you guys tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in, gawking at white women in honor of Emmett Till. Wow.